Yeah, man, just kind of noodling around, getting loosened up a bit. I don't like to play guitar much in the mornings if I can help it. I just don't. I like to play in the afternoons. I like to start playing around noon or 1 or 2, somewhere in that range, and kind of let whatever's going to happen from there. I heard Nutshell on the radio on the way back from lunch, and that was just kind of on my mind. It's a really pretty melody, right? Got some cool toys. This Sean Tubbs tilt overdrive's nice. This is without the tilt. This is without the tilt, right? Just a clean tone. Here's with the tilt. A little less delay. John Cordy had some cool arpeggios that I was messing with the other day. I can't really remember them now, but kind of based around that thing. Kind of that wider interval thing. Right. Those kind of ideas. Anyways, the Tubbs overdrive is really cool because it's not really doing much. I like that it's subtle. Doesn't add a whole lot of grease to it. Versus like Gearbox, right? Kind of nice sounds. I like it. You know. Let's talk about what I want to talk about. Enough noodling. Man, what a week! What a dadgum week for musicians to lose personal heroes that were not the most famous names in the world, and then guys that were in the biggest bands in rock and roll history. Right. Jazz giant Wayne Shorter. Man. Golly dang. It's really, it's him. It's David Lindley. It's Mike Rhodes. Mike Rhodes is who I was talking about. Like, it's the name. Maybe you don't know that name, Michael Rhodes. But it was Nashville royalty. Just one of the most recorded bass players in Nashville's Music City's history, and a fantastic musician, and was such a big part of the community as far as the contributions to the term Music City. He was the low end, right? And his passing kind of took me by surprise. And then, of course, Gary Rossington from Skynyrd, the last member of the original crew. Artemis Powell is still alive. I think he's living in Asheville, North Carolina, which is where I was born. Believe it or not, I was born over in Asheville, North Carolina. So I wanted to talk about losing our heroes here today. Is mental health beginning of the episode. It's really, we get caught up in noodling and making foolish music and silly things, and getting caught up in gear and pedals and guitars and string gauges and picks and all this kind of stuff. But really, it's about a human connection. Like, to me, music is a language. It's a connection between two people. And if you're doing it right and you're speaking clearly, then somebody will feel something, right? It's just like when you get on TikTok or Instagram and you see some influencer going, and like, this is what I like, and it can be like this, and it can be like that, and like. Their message is muddied up with bull crap. It's just muddied up with a bunch of likes and adjectives. Things tying a sentence together. Uhs. I'm the world's worst for it. I know it. I'm not trying to say that I don't do it. But their message is clouded because they're using too many stupid words. They're not getting to the point. That can happen with our music. Now, when it doesn't get clouded, you end up with really powerful stuff. You end up with these bass lines that Mike would give the world. Playing with Vince Gill or Joe Bonamassa or whoever. Mike Rhodes played with everybody. Well, I loved that Players DVD. I really did. I loved that. That was a bunch of them playing with artists and sounding great. My friend and hero Brent Mason on there, just being incredible. Mike played with Bonamassa. A good friend of mine, Big D. Shout out to D if you're seeing this, Dave Lamont. Dave was Mike's guitar tech, Mike Rhodes' guitar tech. Got to meet Mike a time or two. I don't know him. I didn't know him. I respected him. And D was his tech. D was my tech on the Proof of Life tour with Scott Stapp. And then D went to the Bonamassa gig. And wow, I'm just trying to put my thoughts together now. When you think about the message of the bad TikTok influencer and the bad Instagram influencer, and then how speech can muddy up the message. That's where I'm going with this. When I would hear Mike Rhodes play bass with Bonamassa, that's the chopsiest kind of gig you could ever think of. Joe's up there blowing the whole time. And Mike just laid the pocket. No ums, likes, ands, buts, like, none of that stuff. Mike Rhodes just played the bass. This is something that is truly missing a lot of times when I hear a band. The bass player wants to play stuff. Got to play some stuff. Got to play more stuff. Play the bass. Don't murky up the message. Now, I'm not saying that I don't enjoy a chopsy bass player. I do. I like a Victor Wooten just as much as anybody else. But when it's time to lock the groove and play root notes, play the root note. I enjoyed that. I love that about Mike Rhodes. And when you talk about not murkying up the message, I don't know if you guys saw what I posted yesterday. I just was like taking some laps on the old Skynyrd song Tuesday's Gone, and I made a little 2 or 3 minute video. Just a one take kind of thing. I wanted to just play it down, not have stuff super glued together with edits. Just play. And same kind of thing that I'm talking about, not murky up the message. Tuesday's Gone is a great example. Don't murky the message. You don't have to make it, you don't have to add stuff to a song like that. You don't have to add stuff to Simple Man. You know what I mean? It's 3 chords. You know, it's C, G, A minor, right? That's all there is. And it's like that the whole time. You know, in a world where at that time in music, everybody was trying to do so much stuff. Everybody was trying to keep up with Eddie Van Halen, and hey man, good luck. Like you're coming out of Skinner into the late 70s, and this kid comes out of Pasadena, California, doing all the stuff that Ed did. It's crazy, right? 70s had all kinds of pyrotechnic guitar heroes and all kinds of interesting things coming from people like Ritchie Blackmore or whoever, right? A very adventurous time in music. And you think, wow, old Skinnerd just giving you 3 chords and the truth, and that's why Simple Man is what it is. And it connects not with guitar players. We got a small little active group. We got a small community. The biggest fish in the guitar community has still got a small fan base, right? I stand by that. If Guthrie Govan goes on tour and he has to go to Target to get batteries, he's not going to get hounded, right? It's not like Blake Shelton going to Target and getting batteries, right? Or Christina Aguilera going to Target and buying her own batteries, right? Like that's a different kind of fame. Like guitar fame famous to guitar players is one thing. Internet famous is another thing, right? And then real famous. Well, we're talking about real life famous. Like you are really famous. That's a different thing altogether. And my point with that is a guy like, I don't know, Guthrie Govan or Plenty or Mateus Asado, those guys can go and live their lives and not get too punished. Not get too punished, right? So our community is that small. That's a reflection of our community. Those people are really famous in our community. Like I would consider Mateus really famous to guitar players, especially of this generation. I would consider Corey Wong really famous to guitar players of this generation, right? Like what's hot today kind of flavor. But that's still a small group of people. Like you go to the University of Tennessee, just going down the street over here to the old University of Tennessee, there'll be some people that know who he is, but there's going to be way more that don't. And then you say the name Keith Urban or Blake Shelton or, Morgan Wallen. Say that name on University of Tennessee campus. Everybody knows who that is. Everybody does. It's a reflection of the size of our community. And we've got a tight-knit, nice little group of guitarists, like in the world. Like we all get online. We like the same things. We like guitar. We like to look at videos and tune into live streams. We like to hang out with each other and play some music. And we also like to buy pedals and hear about new gear. I just watched a video this morning with Ryan Fluff talking about a new amplifier. We enjoy this stuff. But at some point, it's amazing at how far music as a language can go and exceed those expectations, exceed that reach. And that reach of Gary Rossington is just staggering. Like when you think about how far of a reach that Leonard Skinner had, it's staggering. And I'll say this, I'll go on record as to say a Leonard Skinner song made Shinedown famous. Like Brent singing Simple Man in a radio station blew that band up. Blew them up. That's how the reach of Skinner, it just goes. Look at pop culture. Look at Happy Gilmore. Tuesday's Gone, right? Like that's the one that they play in Happy Gilmore when things are kind of going bad for him, right? He's trying to get his house back. That's pop culture. That's beyond, hey man, here's this band that's famous. And it's amazing to see how far music can reach into people that aren't musicians. That's the most important one right there. Reaching over into the world that's not the musician. Mike Rhodes, man, playing on stage with Bonamassa, playing on every country album that you freaking imagine. Reaching out into the world beyond trying to be a bass player to impress other bass players. Trying to be a guitar player just to impress other guitar players. I feel sloppy this morning. I can't really get my hands loose. Noodling around didn't feel that great. The whole time I was noodling this for you guys, I was like, this kind of doesn't feel good. Doesn't sound good. But that's okay because we're just kind of getting it going, right? It's not meant to be my musical statement to the world kind of thing. But these heroes, they impact us. Their musical statements to the world, they are so impactful. They are the soundtracks to generations. Like growing up where I grew up, in Western North Carolina, East Tennessee, it doesn't matter if we were listening to Biggie Smalls or Snoop Dogg or whatever was popular in the late 90s, early 2000s, Eminem or whatever. Everybody had a ZZ Top record. Everybody had a Skinner record. Everybody had that stuff. It's cultural. It's like if you grow up in the Eastern European area and you play guitar, Django Reinhardt, Borelli Lagrange, Jimmy Rosenberg, and all that stuff. It's cultural. It's a cultural thing, right? And it's amazing that a band like ZZ Top or Skinner or the Allman Brothers is another great example. They could take this sound that's truly a Southern. I always use that term. I got a lot of Southern influence in my playing. And I like that. For a long time, I tried to hide that. Playing in a metal band like Down From Up and playing on my first record. There were just little moments of Southern things, like maybe Shredneck or some mandolin stuff. But it wasn't as embraced as it is now, like I do with like the songs that are on Junktown, and even coming into the new record, incorporating pedal steel and banjo and fiddle and all these types of things into pseudo rock fusion, whatever you want to call the thing that I make, the kind of music, the instrumental music that I make. And losing our heroes, it's a weird feeling. I feel like the past few years has been punishing for me, watching guys that I look up to my whole life pass on to the next realm. I feel like we just did this with Jeff Beck. We just did this. And it's just in 1 week we lose Wayne Shorter, He's as impactful as Charlie Parker or Dizzy or something like that. Like a giant in jazz music, an absolute giant. I don't know how many people listen to jazz that follow me. I went to jazz school. I am not a great jazz player, but I like to play. I like to noodle on it. I like to noodle around on about anything. Losing Wayne, just thank God he left a lot of music for us. I'm going to go listen to a bunch of it. I'm telling myself that. I'm telling you that and telling myself that. I need to revisit it and refresh on that. I'm going to refresh. I've been refreshing on the Skinner thing since Gary passed. I always felt like Skinner wasn't all the way gone. You lose Billy Powell. It wasn't all the way gone until Gary died. And now I feel like it's gone. And so it's like Van Halen. Like, what are you going to do? You going to have another band, call it Van Halen without Eddie Van Halen? Of course not. Alex is with us. They could do some great tribute shows. Wolfie's with us doing amazing things. Thank God that kid's not trying to be his dad. He's doing his own thing, and it's awesome. I went to see him in concert. I'm not just talking from following the kid on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. I went to see his concert. I go see the kid's music. I mean, the first time I ever saw him play, he was playing with my buddy Mark Tremonti. They were doing the Tremonti stuff solo. This was like 2012, 2013, Shiprocked. And that's the first time I saw Wolfie play. I love that he's not trying to sound like his dad. That was his dad's thing. And you talk about losing your hero. Wow, man. Wolfie, his dad. It's hard. It's hard. And so I'm going kind of shooting from the hip here, but it's about, to me, enjoying and it gives you a reason. It's maybe not at the top of your priority list, but it gives you a reason to go back and listen. Let me clarify what I mean there. On the daily, we get up and we open up Instagram or whatever, and we flip through and see something, some other monster player come out of nowhere who's just incredible, right? and just another virtuoso. It's like all of a sudden I woke up one day and there's 4 million virtuosos on the planet. Crazy. So we get up, we start our day with that. Flip on the radio as we go get coffee or go drive to work or whatever, and we see, you hear a solo from Jimmy Page, or, you hear a great riff from Mick Mars, or you hear a really hot Brent Mason solo on some session, and you go, man, it's surrounded by greatness all the time. So you start changing your priority list on what you want to listen to. Okay? Maybe you see a Ben Eller video. Maybe you're a member of my Patreon, right? You see something you like, you want to learn it. And you start prioritizing things in life to listen to. It starts to become a bit of a workload. I know it does for me. And whether it be a tour, songs that I'm going to record, songs that I'm trying to record, songs I'm learning, for whatever reason, you end up chasing this workload of things to listen to. And you forget to listen to the things that made you love music in the first place. I know I do. And I've consciously this year, everybody's got New Year's resolutions and everybody's got things they try to remind themselves of. This year, my goal was to remind myself to listen to the music that I like. Don't listen to the music that I think I should like. Don't listen to the music that somebody else likes, and then I'll have to listen to it because I think it'll make me a better musician if I like it. That's all fine and good for expanding, but it doesn't make you fall in love with music that you just genuinely love, right? Start of the year, I started off listening to a bunch of ZZ Top and Allman Brothers and all that kind of stuff. Just reconnecting with that Southern thing. Last week I listened to all Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash. Not for any other reason, I just like that stuff. I just genuinely like The Highwayman. Like, that's one of my favorite songs. I genuinely enjoy Poncho and Lefty. It's a great song. I love it. I love Merle Haggard. And when a hero passes, it just reminds you to go back and listen to that catalog. Dude, Give Me Back My Bullets. Oh, it's so good. Call Me the Breeze. Billy Powell's solo on Call Me the Breeze is one of the greatest piano solos I've ever heard. It's my favorite. It is just one of my favorite moments in piano ever. It's just so sassy. It's so good. When I heard Tuesday's Gone, I went back and listened to it before I started tracking that little thing that I did. And the thing I noticed was how fast it was. It blew my mind how fast that song was recorded. It was like, in my mind, it's, Hey, it ain't that. It's really quick. I just forget that it's that quick and an upbeat. But it was nice to hear. It was nice to hear Trey Hensley take a little moment. He was sitting on his porch and he played along to it. It was really good. Like kind of doing an acoustic, kind of a grassy kind of approach to it. Really, really cool. Really cool. I see you guys now naming songs over here in the chat. It's really cool. This is where I wanted to take it today. I didn't care about playing guitar, truthfully. I'm going to admit it. My guitar playing at this episode is very uninspired because I'm not feeling it. Like I'm in a consumption mode, not a creation mode. That's okay to admit to yourself. These live streams are really good for my mental health because it makes me just tell the truth. I feel like I don't do well with telling a lie. I don't do well with trying to sell snake oil to you guys in my Patreon, you guys that sign up for things and subscribe to my channel and stuff. We do a great job at Patreon because I'm not over there telling a bunch of lies. Play this exercise 4 times a day and you'll be a great player. That's BS. Never going to tell you that. Never going to say that stuff. And these kind of live streams out to the world, they make me tell the truth. So it's good to admit that, like, hey man, I'm just not inspired today. I'm looking for my muse. I'm looking for inspiration and creativity. Some days I have some really inspired moments and I'm very happy. It makes me not be pissed off at myself for being a crappy guitar player. Right? Some days I have good days, but some days I don't feel good about my playing. And that can be related to anything that's going on in the world. And I think a lot of it's related to just losing heroes. It just makes me want to listen. Makes me not want to try to create. Makes me just want to listen and just take it in. Eric Kyle, I see he's saying, listen to Ed King's rhythm guitar on I Need You. It's genius. The rhythm guitar playing in Lynyrd Skynyrd is absolutely fantastic. You know why? Because they had 3 guitar players. And that could have been a train wreck. An absolute off-the-rails train wreck. And I hope I don't get canceled for saying that because there's a lot of train wrecks going on in our country right now. But Skynyrd could be a mess musically. You got a piano player, you got a horn section on half of those tunes, backup singers, a guy that sings, a bass player, drummer, 3 guitar players. That seems like a engineer front of house nightmare. I would never want to mix that. I would never want to track that session. No way, Jose. Too many inputs. Looks like a mess. But the band was so good, they fixed it in pre. My favorite saying lately, fix it in pre. Don't fix it in post. Fix it in pre. Go listen to them. Go listen to Skynyrd. And notice how well crafted the rhythm guitar playing is. It's fantastic. Bill Wilson says a friend's wife almost died. He posted about it coining this phrase, normal life proceeds along an unseen cliff. A step in the wrong direction can be your last. Absolutely. It can end in a moment, and it hits you different. It really hits you different. Tommy Bolin is saying, C-Bip is saying Tommy Bolin. Dustin Chang says, I have a hard time listening to songs that I can't play or that I can't visualize or that are outside of my wheelhouse. It feels hard to relate to. Anyone else? How do I overcome that? Dustin, what you're trying to do is be in control, in my opinion. This is only my opinion. You can take it and throw it out the window. In my opinion, you're trying to be in control. You listen to songs that you can't play or you can't visualize. It becomes a hard time listening to it. Hard to relate to it. It's because you're trying to control the music. Sometimes it's okay to put on something you can't do. I can't sing opera. I can't score an opera. If somebody said, hey, Andy, I want you to make a full score, do the full score soundtrack symphony, all the parts for an opera, I would be like, hey, Rick Beato, can you help me do this? Like, I can't, I don't have that skill set. I didn't dedicate my life to that. Dedicated my life to something else, you know. But I love to put it on. I love to put on Pavarotti, 3 tenors, Nessun Dorma. I could listen to that on loop. I could listen to Pavarotti sing Nessun Dorma on a loop. You know, I can't create that magic that John Williams can create every time he sits down with a pen and a piece of paper and just scores one of the greatest film scores of all time. I can't do it. I might get lucky with a melody every now and then, but to score it for woodwinds and brass, oh man, I can't sit down and do all that stuff. But I can sit down and listen to it and love it and enjoy it because I'm not meant to control it. I'm not meant to be able to do everything that I hear. You, Bill Wilson, Pookie, Bill Givens, what's up, Bill? Jonathan, Dustin, Andy Pierce, Atomic Punk. I'm just reading what I can see. This is just an earshot. Stoffish, C-Bip, Button, Jim Dover, Tom. I'm looking at you guys. Kelly, you guys aren't meant to be able to do everything. None of us are. Dustin, I think that's your problem when you're listening to stuff and you're like, I can't connect with it because I can't visualize it. Hey, that's okay, man. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. That's the magic. Just let it happen. It'll come out in your playing somewhere. It really will. I believe that. That's that when I write music, my influences come out and people say, oh man, it reminds me of this, or oh, that reminds me of that. And that's usually where the names of songs come from. Of Elfin Man was written. A guy was in the studio. A guy's like, oh man, it sounds like a Danny Elfman thing. I was like, oh yeah, it's totally inspired by Danny. That makes sense. Why don't we just name it that? And it's cool just to not control it. I can't just go and just play anything that I want to. I would love to be able to do that. I'm working on that from time to time, but I've shifted my aim. I'm not chasing chops and I'm not chasing the ability to shred over the Coltrane matrix like I did in my 20s. I chased that at a different time. Now I'm chasing the idea of making a musical statement. I want the new album to have a statement that connects to people, and I want to be able to play those songs in a room full of people, in an auditorium full of people, and look out and see people connecting with it. I want to make an album with Dave Kennedy that connects with people. And the shift has focused. It's the focus of the shift has moved, right? What I want to put my efforts into. But I still love to turn on things that I can't do and just enjoy it. Don't try to control the game. That's it, right? Like, that is some magic stuff. I appreciate you guys just coming in here to hang out week after week, telling your friends and subscribing and hanging out and spreading the message of what we got going on this little corner of the internet. It's fun. It's fun for me. It's fun for me to connect with other players, and it helps me think about musical legacies like Mike and David Lindley. We haven't talked about David yet. David Lindley was a force. And what it's like to lose our heroes. Man, our heroes are getting older. Like I said, we just did this with Jeff Beck, man. And I just look across the room, the proverbial room, and you see all the cats that you love. And you look up to and you're just like, man, can we all just not stay together? Can we stay? But it's not like that. We're not meant to stay. So dealing with passing and musical legacies, that's thankfully these guys, these giants, these titans, they leave us with big bodies of work. We could go and discover every nook and cranny of what they've done. I've never heard every recording David Lindley's done. I've never heard every Lynyrd Skynyrd song. And I'm a big Lynyrd Skynyrd fan. I have never heard every Lynyrd Skynyrd song. I've never heard every session that Michael Rhodes has played on. I'm going to be searching this stuff out. I hope I find some deep cuts that I really love, Favorite guitar player from Skynyrd? There's no wrong answer. Who'd you guys love? Who was your favorite? I love Tom saying, just call me Moonshine. It's easier than pronouncing my name. Bill Wilson's talking about Learning Reach. That's an interesting song because it had that inspiration from the video game of the same name, Halo Reach. There's last level in Halo Reach where you're not meant to win. You're meant to die. Like, you cannot beat it. It will keep going and keep spawning ads until you die. Gamers that played Halo Reach, this. That's where that song was inspired from. I was like, man, this thing needs a soundtrack, Randy Heston says, hell, I can't play most of it, but I love to listen to all of it. I can pick up some small things from all of it, and I feel good about that. That's the thing. Randy is an inspiration to me. Randy didn't, very unlike a lot of you guys, Randy is an interesting cat. He did not play guitar his whole life. The number one thing that people say when they get in there in a lesson with me on Patreon, I offer master classes and one-on-one lessons and stuff. First thing somebody says, man, I've played since I was a teenager. I was in a band in high school and I quit playing, but I played, Randy did not play when he was 14 years old or 20 years old. Like he came into it later in life. And I love that he is an inspiration, not just to me, but to other people in the Woodshed Patreon. He's an inspiration to a lot of us because the fire to listen and love and learn isn't equated to the skill of where he's at. And that's important to all of us to remember. Playing guitar and unlocking knowledge, it's a bit of a dopamine drip. And it's a feel good. It's a high. I know it better than anybody because I'm addicted to it. I love to play live. I love to play for people. It's nerve-wracking sometimes because you get the jitters, but it's also like I love to do it. And playing and connecting with people's more, it gives you this God, it's like a drug or something, man. It's the most feel-good of the feel-goods. And that happens when I learn how to do something on the instrument and I can do something that I couldn't do the day before. And I play something maybe hot or whatever at a gig and I get a nod or a wink or a head nod from some of my peers. They like it. And that's the most dopamine that can be injected into my system at one time. I love that feeling. And unfortunately, we learn a lick to conquer it. And then we get the dopamine. We learn a solo, and then once we can play it, we get the dopamine. Now that keeps magnifying. That keeps magnifying out. Now you post it on YouTube, and you get the dopamine. Well, now it gets 100,000 video likes. Oh, no, more of the drug. More of the drug. Just tie me off and inject it straight in. Give me that dopamine. It's most inspirational and most important to see guys like Randy who have not played their whole life, and they get that dopamine from the pure joy of the music. He says, yeah, I can pick up some small things here and there. Yeah. I'm working with Randy. We're turning him into a good rhythm guitar player. That's what we're working on. Randy is, I'm working with him on some AC/DC and just getting good right hand. But the most important thing is he goes to concerts and just has a great time, and it's infectious. It's contagious. And it reminds me of people that I know in my community, guys in my game clan. I have a video game clan with Travis Toy and Shannon Campbell, Dave Whitaker, and just a bunch of killer musicians. And then the other half of the clan is a bunch of guys that can't play the radio. You know what I mean? Guys that couldn't even know how to hold a guitar if you handed it to them, right? And they are inspirational in the same way, where it's like they love music. They go to concerts and they get online and they telling me about their favorite concerts and their favorite moments and their favorite, this guy played this thing. Oh man, I was crying. It was so good. And these are guys that don't play music. That's the inspiration. We forget because we're trying to conquer this thing like it's some kind of task. Like the fretboard is some task. A vibrato, the chops. I got to be able to play the Under the Glass Moon solo, or I got to be able to play Cliff's Dover, or whatever. We're trying to conquer it. That's not the right path, man. That's not the juice. That's not the thing. Listening to our heroes and their music, I find it hard to believe in a band with 3 guitar players. Skinnerd was sitting there going, you know what we should do is just try to out-shred each other. No, man. They all had different moments to shine, and they were serving the song to make these parts like, the exact part feel good, I mean, like, dude. There's there's not really a lot going on with that, right? There ain't a lot of things happening there. A lot of D, a lot of this. A lot of... It's the most perfect thing. It's like, dude, you play that, and it's like, yeah, man, he's playing Give Me Three Steps. And like it's got nothing in common with like, it's foolishness. Licks, right? Just playing licks for licks' sake, you know. It's like serving the song, man. These guys were masters, and the young version of me kind of shot it down, like not really interested because I was so concerned with chops and technique and acquiring more ability. And then now I look at it and I'm like, oh man, these guys look what they could do with what they had. Look at how many lives and people they connected. I mean, could you imagine how many beers have been drank to Give Me Three Steps? Let's put that into the equation. How many ice cold Bud Lights do you think were drank on a pontoon boat in a lake to Give Me Three Steps? I mean, trillions, right? Like everybody in the South, you going fishing? Yeah, so eventually Skinner's going to pop up on your soundtrack, right? It's like, that's unbelievable. And those are not guitar players, man. Those are just people out to party. And Call Me the Breeze comes on and everybody's ready to party. You know, it's just the soundtrack to a great time. However, they also made a lot of really good ballads, things that stuck with a lot of people, made people think, you know. Freebird became a meme. It was a parody of itself, right? Until somebody plays it perfectly. And then everybody loves it. That's an interesting thing. I haven't seen many people ever try to cover it. There's a couple of bands here in Knoxville. There's a guy named Rick Asher. He was like, I was 16 years old and I was teaching lessons over at his shop. He had a music store, Rick's Music. I'd go in there and buy stuff, and he ordered my first B-Bender Telecaster, like my main guitar that I won Guitar Mageddon on and all that stuff. I got it from Rick's Music back in the day. Rick had a Skinner tribute band for a while, and it was really good. It was really, really good, and he would do Freebird, and it would be spot on. Spot on. And it really made me happy because it's like that's this running joke about Freebird, you know. Like, you know, you get people that will never play it. You get people that like yell it out at a bar, you know, be funny or stupid or whatever. And it's all fun and games until somebody plays it, and it's awesome. Like it's an interesting tune, and it's a powerful song, right? Because it became this joke that's not really a joke if you can nail it, right? It's the Stairway to Heaven of the South, right? Freebird is the Stairway to Heaven of the South. It really is. You know, I hate that for many years Skinner was associated with racism and rebel flags and that kind of foolishness. You know, I hated that. That's something I never really cared for very much. I don't believe in a lot of that racist stuff. I'm not into that. But I think music transcends that, right? Ballad like Curtis Lowe. Great message, right? Or kind of on your perspective, right? That's the thing. Art's a perspective. Everything can be looked at as terrible or good or bad or whatever. But, you know, Skinner to me, Gary Rossington being the last one, I go back to that. I keep kind of drilling down into the concrete on that. It was never really over. But without Gary, man. I mean, is it the Leonard Skinner tribute now? There's no more of them. Like, you can be a family member, you can be a friend of the band, you can do all this stuff, but is it really Leonard Skinner? That's not for me to decide. But I'd say Gary had him a pretty good life. I'd say he had a hard life, watching your buddies get killed in a plane crash. You know, I bet that was challenging, to say the least. So yeah, David is saying, I saw him back in 1977 with Ted Nugent and Carlos Santana. Tickets were $7.75. Man, amazing, right? Amazing. $7.75. That's just crazy talk to me. I think of a good deal when I go see a concert and it's $30. Like, wow, that's not that bad. Go see John Mayer in Atlanta, dude. You're out $600, $700, easy. I tell you this, I'm ashamed of what I'm paid for Guns N' Roses. I'm ashamed of that. I God, it was with my ex-girlfriend. And, we know how those things go. But I'll tell you this, I wanted to see Guns N' Roses on that reunion tour. I think it was the 5th or 6th show. It was really early on, and it was over at Nissan Stadium, and they had just started getting back, and it was Slash and Axl and like Duff. It was like, yo, this is GNR. And Chris Stapleton was opening. You guys know I love Stapleton. I mean, I think he is the savior of country music. And he's the guy that's keeping it from being another dadgum song about sipping on the good stuff in the back of a truck down by the river. Like that kind of cliche bro thing. Like Stapleton's keeping it real and doing it, man. Doing it real. I think he's the way that it was the door opening for guys like Jelly, you know. Anyways, Stapleton's opening in Nashville, and it's Guns N' Roses and Chris Stapleton. I tell my ex, I'm like, yo, we got to go. So I signed up for the GNR fan club. I think I spent about $2,200, $2,100 on those tickets for 2 tickets. It was expensive. I think $2,000, $1,800, something like that. I remember it being close enough to $2,000 where it made me sick. I was just like, oh, stop looking at the fees. Like, stop looking at the things. But I'll tell you this, it was absolutely spectacular. It's the greatest rock and roll concert I've ever seen in my life. It was absolutely spectacular. They came out there and they played for 3 hours, and they played every freaking GNR song. Stapleton crushed it. They sounded magnificent. And for 2 songs, Steven Adler got on drums, and it was as close to Appetite as I could ever get. It was worth every penny, you know. But I would imagine back in 1977, if I was sitting next to David, I obviously wasn't born in 1977. But if I was hanging out with David in 1977, if a 21-year-old version of me was sitting next to you with Ted Nugent and Santana, and tickets were $7.75 to see Skinner, Nuge, and Santana, I bet we would have had a good time. That's for sure. That is daggum sure. Reelin', Rockin', and Rollin' is saying Gary and Ronnie are my favorites, but in hindsight, maybe they should have called it a day when Billy passed. Who knows? I don't know if I buy that. I don't know. Here's why, is because Gary and Ronnie are alive. You know, you say Billy, when Billy passed, I don't think they should have called it. I think Gary did it right. Gary went out on top. Gary went out like Jeff Beck. That's how I want to go. I want to go. I want to go like that. I want to go after playing my whole life, touring, and maybe 3 or 4 weeks after tour, slip off to sleep and never wake up. I mean, that's it, right? Like that's I saw Jeff Beck in November and he left the world in January. And man, I was glad to see him. And it was a spectacular show. Saw him in Louisville, Kentucky, and it was outstanding, man. Just fan-freaking-tastic. Checking in on the chat here. Greg Marmon says winery dogs are $25, and I'm like, wow, I can afford dinner. I mean, isn't that exciting? You know, you have $25 ticket. I remember paying $60 for GNR in Tampa 20 years ago. Was it 20 years ago? Would that have been Ron Thal and Buckethead? I just got to spend a whole week with Ron Thal. Ron is Bumblefoot, right? Ron, that's his real name, Ron Thal. I got to spend a whole week with Bumble out on Shiprocked, and man, we had us a big time. What a terrifying musician. It's just intimidating. Like Ron Thal can play anything. He is just an intimidating musician. Fantastic player, man, and a delightful human being, animal lover, hot sauce enthusiast. he's just a great dude to be around, man. It's really, really cool. But I guess that maybe 20 years ago, maybe I've been Ron and Bumblefoot and stuff. Yeah, check it out. Let's see here. Yeah, Shredder's saying Stapleton does what a lot of people won't dig into. He cherishes the message of old country, simple and relatable. I mean, he's a storyteller. He crafts a great story. I agree with that. Couldn't agree more about Stapleton. Great way to put it. The savior of country music. Absolutely. Pookie, I don't know what no way is, but yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what you're no waying. Nice to be able to catch you today. Finally get a day off. Hey, Dustin, I hope you're doing well wherever you are. Hope everything's good. Bill Wilson saying, I paid $15 to see Robert John in the wreck at the bowling alley in Madison, sat 5 feet away. It was awesome. I've seen lots of great shows down at 3rd and Lindsley. I, too, have seen a lot of great shows at 3rd and Lindsley. I think my favorite was Mike Stern and Brent Mason. Boy, that was, woo! It was hot. It was hot, man. Very, very hot. Robin Fink and Bumblefoot on lead guitars. Thank you. Thank you, Lago. Sammy Reynolds, Soul Sammy saying, I paid $300 for Tool tickets 3 years ago. The experience was worth the money. Hey, man, it's beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? Jeff Hall says, saw Eric Johnson in Denver 2 nights ago. Amazing. He is still crushing it like 20 years ago. Entire first set was acoustic fingerstyle. Hopes he keeps going for a long time. Jeff, let me tell you this. We're going to spend 4 days with Eric Johnson out in August. If anybody wants to come be a part of that hang, that's the Woodshed Guitar Experience. August, 4 days with Eric Johnson, Brent Mason, Greg Koch, Andy Timmons, Mark Lettieri, Seth Rosenblum, and myself. It is an absolute overload of horsepower. Going to be really, really fun. Going to be a great hang. Lessons. There's going to be a lot of gear there. There's going to be master classes, 3 concerts over the course of the event. It'll be a concert Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. Going to be magnificent. That's all at woodshedguitarexperience.com. Please sign up now if you can make it happen. It is spectacular. This is our 4th year doing it, and I'm really, really excited this year to have Eric Johnson. Like, unbelievable. Chuck is chiming in and giving me the green light to say we have $200 off of the Woodshed Guitar Experience until March 31st. So if you would like to spend 4 days with Eric Johnson, Brent Mason, Greg Koch, Andy Timmons, Mark Lettieri, Seth Rosenblum, and myself, you can get $200 off of that. Now, if you do the math, we're talking about concert tickets and prices. Let's say you go to 3 concerts. Let's say you have to buy a hotel every night. You got to buy all your food for all 3 days. You're going to have some drinks for all 3 days. Now you're going to take some lessons and some master classes. My average hour lesson is about $200 to $250 for a lesson. And if you did that with every artist multiple times a day, you would be well over $8,000 or $9,000 tallied up. So when you go look at the pricing of Woodshed Guitar Experience, keep that in mind, knowing that everything is included. We're going to put you up. We're going to feed you. Great chef that we hired to come in and do food and everything. We're going to have all the vendors there with all kinds of gear. We've had so many drop-in guests just come and hang. We've had Sean Tubbs come and hang with Rev Amplification. We've had Jimmy Olander from Diamond Rio popped in one year to hang out with us. And we're going to have plenty of fun guests showing up. Lots of magnificent vendors. Like I said, I'm not really at liberty to say what we can give away, but we have given away and we continue to give away items that are well over the cost of your admission. Some of our people are walking away with PRS guitars and things like that. It's going to be really wild. And if you want to get signed up, please, August, it's going to be happening. That is woodshedguitarexperience.com. That's my housekeeping. That is my housekeeping. Sacred City NYC says I could buy a new Sparkle Jet for $2,000. Maybe so. Maybe so. Pookie says $2,100 for GNR tickets. You're saying that this is overpriced. I disagree, because at the end of the day, I got to see Chris Stapleton play to an arena and murder it. I got to see one of my favorite rock bands of all time go on stage and play like they were 22 years old again, and it was freaking unbelievable. It was beyond worth every penny. This is something I believe in. We'll spend $2,000 on a guitar and then sell it in 2 years. That's crazy talk compared to spending $2,000 on an evening that you're never going to forget. One of the greatest evenings of my life. That was one of the greatest concerts I will ever go to. That's a deal. For $2,000, that's a deal. To say that's one of the greatest nights of my rock and roll fandom, that's a deal. We paid a ton of money. I saw Van Halen a handful of times. I'd see Van Halen if they were in Cincinnati or Charlotte or wherever. God knows I spent more than $5 or $6 grand going to see Van Halen, you know. Over the time lapse of how many times I went to see those guys. Yeah, come on, man. Like, I saw them with Sammy. I saw them with Dave on the 2013, 14, 15. Saw all that stuff. It's like, man, yeah. I'm about the experience. That's what I'm all about, man. It's all about the memories and leaving with holy cow, I got to do that. You know, I got to see that. I got to be there when this thing happened and I was there. I can say I was there when Stapleton opened for GNR and crushed it. Atomic Punk's still having it up in Crossville. Yes, I am. Just down in Cookville, so I don't have an excuse to not come jam. Man, you got to, dude. It's unbelievable. Bill is saying it can't come soon enough. Oh, Dustin, you're never too late to the game, my friend. Never too late to the game. So Shredder is saying, for anyone who's just a lover of music, the Woodshed is something I'm looking at, a real in-person viewing of Brent and Andy. Man, it is unbelievable, Shredder. It really is. It's like something that you will not. I mean, I can't even put it into words. On Friday night, we do all covers, and no one's allowed to like spend a bunch of time working on it. We just start calling tunes. I mean, one of my highlights was watching Greg play the Allman Brothers. You know, we did. What was the one we did? Trouble No More. We did that one. Yeah, it was killer. Johnny South is saying we used to go see EJ and SRV in Green, Texas at Cheatham Street Pub, which was converted into a train depot. Super small and intimate. They would play several feet away, less than $10. Unbelievable. Yeah, Jeff Hall. Jeff Hall's chiming in saying it's crazy to think that it's expensive until you experience the evening, and then you're often glad you did it. Absolutely. That's how I feel. That's how I feel when I think about these moments where I've spent a ton of money. I spent a ton to go see John Mayer. You know, you get a hotel, you go out to dinner, and for two people, man, you know, you're probably looking at $800, $800 or $900 for sure. I spent a ton of money, but John Mayer had Pino on bass and Isaiah Sharkey playing other guitar. It was like unbelievable, sickest band, and it was worth every penny. You know, to me, it's about the experience. That's it. That's it. Here we go. Sliding the chat down. Shredder is saying with the cost of a lot of times, from a concert perspective, the camp out jams will be valued at the people, not the live shows. All right. I mean, like, you know, everything's got its own twist on it. Like, you know, going to Coachella is not the same as going to Stagecoach. Is not the same as going to Merle Fest. Those are all different kind of events. They all have a different spin on them, right? Exact Tone in the house. Thanks for hanging out. I've had a lot of questions recently. Let me just take a minute. We leave these videos up and running. So if anybody's watching this, a lot of people have asked on the little board that I did, Trace Andres. The little baby board. We had a lot of people asking about that send and return, being able to just have that as an insert. That is the fine folks at Exact Tone. If you look over in the chat right now, XACTTONE, XTS, right there in Nashville, Tennessee. That is who did that. That's who's built my past 3 boards. I cannot stop taking stuff to them for them to make it better. I got all this stuff here, make it work better. They are the best, the finest in the industry. And if you live in anywhere east of the Mississippi, the only reason I say that is because west of the Mississippi, you got all the, LA sound, sound design. You got the Dave Friedmans, the John Surs, the Bob Bradshaws, all that stuff. On the east side of things, if you're on the East Coast, take your stuff to XTS. That's it. That's the end. I got 3 really great parts of the country that I can go to. If you're in Texas, go here. If you're on the East Coast, go here. If you're on the West Coast, go here. And XTS personally has built my last 3 boards. They are the ones that did that little insert pedal. Please go to them for your pedal board needs, gear needs. They are fantastic. Andy Pierce is saying the Hang is worth at least twice the price. Talking about Woodshed. Old Blue Sammy and Dino in Vegas made me. I can't. Some of those I can't really read some of those. Nate Palmer is a Knoxville shout out. Where's Uncle Ben? Uncle Ben's working at his house. Yeah, man. Sessions with Jeff just paid $900 on Blues Fest and accommodation. It will be more than that again. Yeah, for sure. But it happens, right? It happens. Get a box truck and an inflatable mattress. Incredible, man. This is a interesting week here where I'm not, like I said, I gotta find my muse and get back to it because I'm in the middle of trying to make a record and keep my brain clear. There's so many parts moving, but I just wanted to take a day just to celebrate how great Michael Rhodes was, David Lindley, Wayne Shorter, Gary Rossington. Those are 4 titans of music. And if you don't know any part of any one of those guys, go listen. Go listen today. I'm going to put on some Wayne Shorter when I hang up. And then I'm going to listen to some David Lindley stuff. And then I'm going to listen to some Skinner. And then I'm going to listen to some of the Players. One of my favorite videos, like I said, is Michael Rhodes playing with the Players. A lot of you guys might recognize Michael when you see him, when you Google him, because he's the guy that's been playing with Bonamassa for a long time. And he just recently stepped out of that gig, I guess, a year or 2 ago. And he is, you'll know him, and fantastic, man. He's fantastic. So Joe Ramirez says, I just bought the Andy Wood Sir, then I saw the Woodshed Experience. That's going to be a lot of dish out, but I want to go. So, hey, man, I can't. Hey, bring the guitar. I'll sign the headstock, Steve Gaines, man. I mean, there's so many great guitarists that saddled up with Skynyrd. It's kind of amazing that all those guys were in the same group, right? You know how bands just end up getting all these sick players all the time? One that comes to mind is like they were never on stage with each other, but Megadeth. It's Kiko, it's Marty Friedman, it's Chris Poland. It's like that. It's just like everybody that played for that band is sick. Like mega sick good, crazy good, right? So like, the interesting thing about Skynyrd is those dudes were all in the band at the same time on stage together. Very Allman Brothers kind of approach, right? What's another guitar? Why not? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, cheers, Hammer. Closely related to Gary. Yeah, cheers. The solo in Aja is the gateway drug. Yeah, that's a good one, man. Learned a ton of Rhodes playing bass on country cover gigs. That's right, Fishbulb. Shredder, I Know a Little is a fantastic Skynyrd song. I've had to play it in bars, but because I respect it so much, I'm not going to try to do it right now because I have not refreshed it, and I just don't want to get on here and butcher it. It's like I just don't want to do it disrespectfully. Dustin Chang, what are the all right, chat. Okay, let's all team up here before we say farewell to each other. My man Dustin Chang is asking a great question here, and I want everybody to kind of zoom in with me. My man Dustin is asking, what are the gateway Lynyrd Skynyrd songs? Okay, chat, I need you guys. Go. My first one that I'm going to say is Gimme 3 Steps. That is the first song you listen to. Gimme 3 Steps is the first Lynyrd Skynyrd song you listen to. Okay, now who else we got? I Know a Little. Shredder Alamo just said I Know a Little. I would say Tuesday's Gone, Gimme Back My Bullets, What we say? I mean, let's not say. Here's the deal: no Sweet Home Alabama. Do not say it. Obviously, he's heard Sweet Home Alabama. We're not going to go there. Freebird, Call Me the Breeze, Atomic Bunkas, That Smell. Yeah, there's several people saying That Smell. Simple Man, absolutely, Robbie. Absolutely. Keep going, chat. I'm interested to see where you guys take it. Ballad of Curtis Lowe, absolutely. Absolutely. No question. Ballad of Curtis Lowe, Simple Man, Ballad of Curtis Lowe, absolutely. Absolutely. Keep going. Poison Whiskey, Ooh, That Smell, yeah. Working for MCA, Saturday Night Special. Nobody said Working for MCA yet. Stormy Monday. I got to say, Call Me the Breeze. That one's got to be in there. Here's another one that nobody's saying. What's your name? Thank you, Atomic Punk, for dropping in on that one. If I'm not mistaken, Leonard Skinner did a cover of Honky Tonk Nighttime Man, which is a Merle Haggard song. If I'm not mistaken on that. Got to say I Know a Little, for sure. Pronounce Leonard Skinner. Just got Tuesday's Gone, Give Me 3 Steps. Mississippi Kid, Free Bird. I mean, dude. Yeah, Mississippi Kid, Troy's on it. Yeah. Okay. Dustin, here's the thing. Learn any part of these songs. Steal you a little something. This is some of the greatest rock and roll that the southern part of the United States has ever given the world. When I hold my hands like this, it's a certain shape that I always do when I say the South. I always go, I'm from the South. It's southern music. It's like up here is Kentucky. Right? That's where Bill Monroe came from, right? And then over here is the Delta. And that's the heart of the blues, right? Down here in Florida, this is where Florida is down here on this side. This is where Skinner and the Allman Brothers and all that stuff. This over here is Texas. This is where ZZ Top hits, right? This is where Andy Timmons and Snarky Puppy and Mark Lettieri and Eric Johnson, they're all from that. Like the southern swing of music, It's like this little part of the United States is just so special to music. And the blues, man, when I hold my hands like this, it's like the blues is right in the middle. Right there, That's it, man. Everybody, thank you guys for hanging and enjoying this, man. This was needed for me, This was needed for me to kind of just hang out and just talk about Four Cats. We talked a lot about Skinner, but I want you guys to check out David Lindley if you haven't, and I want you guys to check out Michael Rhodes. I know you've heard all their music. It's just a matter of just digging a little bit deeper, right? Check out Wayne Shorter. These are 4 people that left that world this week, and their music should be celebrated and listened to. Like I said, I feel like we just went through this with Jeff Beck. But yeah. And we will see you guys that are in the Patreon. We'll see you on Thursday because I have a gig Wednesday. I'm going to post that in Patreon right now. I do a weekly live masterclass on Zoom and a lot more picking, a lot less clicking, right? So we're going to be doing a lot of Skinner. We're going to do that on Thursday if that's cool with you guys. And if you're interested in joining up on Patreon, it is a delightful hang for $5 a month. That is the price of a cup of coffee. For $5 a month, you get access to hundreds of videos. I think about 500 or 600 videos, about 600 now. Tabs, transcriptions, Axe Effects tones, all kinds of stuff is on that Patreon. It's just a wall of stuff that you guys get access to for $5. Now, for $25 a month, that is the price of 5 Starbucks cups of coffee. You can join us for a weekly live Zoom masterclass where you chat with me. It's not a typing thing. It's a video call. And you have your guitar. I have my guitar. We all hang out and trade licks for a couple of hours every week. This happens every single week. You get 4 of these. So when you divide that down, I think the math works out pretty daggum good. You get a lot of good hangs. I appreciate seeing a lot of you Patreon members in here. And please, if you're not, If you haven't checked it out, go over there and snoop around, man. There's a lot to be had, a lot of good licks over there, a lot of good tasty treats to sink your teeth into. That's at www.patreon.com/AndyWoodMusic. Thank you, Chuck Keller, as always, for being the moderator, champion of moderators, always. Chuck, we will see you soon. Cheers to everyone for hanging out today. And man, losing our heroes is a sad time, but it is also a time to inspire and celebrate what they left behind. And they left so much beautiful music with us. Cheers.